Hello there, and welcome to Sweet Child of Time. I'm your host, Steve Barnes. Today we're continuing our journey with Time Bandits. We're up to episode 7. We're doing Ice Age today, and I'm doing this with my co-host of these podcasts. It's James McCullum, the Marshland Monster. Ahoy there, James.
Chips ahoy there, Steven.
I'm getting hungry already mentioning these cookies. I love it. Have you eaten today yet, James?
I had rice with 3 hot dogs cut up into it, and then I didn't have a lot of time. This is my third recording today, so instead of making beans, like a can of chili beans and some chips, I just made 2 things of a top ramen, and I need to eat. I for sure need to eat.
I mean, yeah, you got your basics there. That sounds like some inexpensive living, too. The rice, the hot dogs, and the ramen. Like, I just picked up some ramen earlier today, too, as a matter of fact. And they used to sell it in individual packets for like 15, 20 cents. Mm-hmm. They don't do that anymore. They just sell them in these bulk packs now for like, $1 for 10 or something like that. Is that the same way in Chicago?
No, you can get little ones, I think.
Okay, I'm sure they still exist, but like in both the grocery stores I shop at, it's the same thing. You can't buy like one packet. You have to buy a pack of 10.
We'll buy a pack of 50 next time.
Maybe I should. I mean, I got the 10.
That
so,
price
I'm
point.
Set. Yeah. Well, yeah. How's your week been so far, James? Anything interesting happening?
Just working. That's it.
Okay. Same here, except I got the week off work this week so I can get some music done. Gotta love that. I wanted to let you and the listeners know what's going to be happening on this podcast in 2025, James. Of course, we are going to be continuing Time Bandits, and that's going to take us up through the right end of December of 2024. And at the exact same time, mid-December of 2024, a new show is starting on Netflix right about that time called 100 Years of Solitude. And this is based on the South American fantasy novel. And it's a fantasy novel about a fictional South American town that covers a 100-year time period, 7 generations of the same family living in the same town. And it's, like I said, it's a fantasy series. So Lindsay and myself have already decided we're going to be covering that as it comes out. There's 8 episodes of that.
Heck yeah.
And I'm hoping that will like bump us right up into season 3 of Wheel of Time, because that's supposed to be coming out springish, summerish of 2025.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. If it does not, then James and myself have decided to meet in the middle, so to speak, and we're doing a series called Time Squad. It's about time travel. It's a cartoon that came on Cartoon Network. Checking my dates here.
Probably like 2003.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. Aired between 2001, 2003. This was a cartoon, and I remember watching this with Caleb. It was a great show. Heather remembers watching it and remembers thinking it was funny. A great show for us to do some research on some different time periods and to have some fun watching cartoons.
Yeah.
And beyond that, I'm still going to be doing movies, my time movies. It almost feels like I should have like a network because there's so many shows and upcoming stuff I want to do, but it's all going to follow under the Sweet Child of Time umbrella. We've already done The Amazing Mr. Blunden. I discussed that with Lindsay and Nate. It's a time travel movie from the 1970s. That will be released whenever I need it to be released. It will be dropped anytime. And we're also going to be covering very soon the new Netflix movie that just came out called His 3 Daughters. Pretty heavy movie. It's about 3 daughters who meet up together again as their father is battling the late stages of cancer and he's in hospice care. And so we're going to discuss that, I believe, with one of Lindsay's friends who's a life coach. So that'll be a real interesting episode.
Wait, how's that time related?
Because time, James, comes for us all. There comes a time in every person's life when they must gather to reflect upon the end. So
they're not going to travel forward in time, get the cure for cancer, come back and say, here you go, Dad.
I think that's the sequel. They're in the middle of the sequel right now, and that's going to be happening. But yeah, this is not a time travel movie. It's not a fantasy movie. It's a tearjerker movie. And I think it's going to be a good record. And then we're going to get back on track. We're going to be doing Back to the Future and Somewhere in Time, starring Christopher Reeves.
Are any of the 3 sisters in bands?
Like musical bands?
Yeah. Because that would also fit your motif. You either do time or bands.
Okay, well, one of them is a Deadhead, and she goes to a lot of like Grateful Dead and Fish concerts.
There we go. We figured it out. It fits the parameters of this podcast.
Heck yes, I'm down with this. Yes, and it also takes place in 2024 New York, which is a period of time. So it covers like 3 bases right there.
I really like your hoodie, your Astodu shirt.
Oh, thank you. Like, it's chilly in here. So this is why I'm bundled up and huddled in the corner over here.
Astodu, is that a band or something?
It's well, if you
I know it's Mastodon.
But yeah, that's not a bad idea. I think a lot of bands like to do that type of thing where they'll like take a portion of another band's name and name their band that. So if you search for the other band, you'll happen upon that band. It's a pretty crafty little trick. Do you have like any clever like ways that people can find your stuff? Have you done any kind of like search engine optimization like that?
Well, I guess if they're searching for Solomon Grundy from the DC universe by his alternate reality, or not alternate reality, his alter ego Marshland monster, but that's 2 words, not 3 words like me. I didn't know that was a character when I created this name, so don't be mad at me.
Nobody's mad at you. I chose introvoid because it contains the word void, and because it's a unique word that didn't already exist. So I figured that like people wouldn't have a hard time finding me if I had a name. Of course, if I had named my podcast something like Sweet Child of Time, people might have a very hard time finding it, because those words, if you put them in a search engine and you're not already affiliated with me, they're going to lead you all kinds of different directions, not necessarily here, which is unfortunate.
We should do Sweet Child of Slime, and it's just, a bunch of Melt movies and other slimy movies.
Early Nickelodeon days when they used to slime people.
Oh, we could do some Double Dare episodes. We could do watch-alongs of Double Dare and say, oh, that is that milky white substance you're diving into, kids.
That's right up your alley, too. We could also do some Ghostbusters and invite Slimer on.
Ghostbusters, no? 2 thumbs down.
Okay, well, I don't know. I'm a Ghostbuster lover, I suppose. I mean, I'm not like really into it, but I don't have any thumbs down about it. What's thumbs down about Ghostbusters?
I might have just seen them way too many times on Comedy Central that I'm like, I don't need to see those first 2 movies ever again.
Well, it's kind of true. I mean, yeah, I'm not rewatching them either. I wanted to say something on mic here to you, James, so the listeners could hear too. Last episode we did with Anthony Surajaya from the Netflix series, from his own personal series, The Chase. He was on, and this was his first podcast he was on, so he didn't have a microphone. He didn't have any headphones. So the recording, the raw recording, wasn't as perfect as it should be. You would not know that by listening to the podcast, James. You did a fantastic job of cleaning that up, editing it, taking all the noises out, and it sounds perfect. Great job, James.
Thank you. It took some time.
Yeah. I mean, you've been editing a lot of these episodes lately, and I just kind of take it for granted. But with this particular episode, because I went back and I was watching the video and I was doing some editing on the video myself, and I was like, there is a huge difference here. I could see the quality difference. So, yeah, James is great at editing these podcasts. So if you need to get in touch with him, mlmpod.com, or how do they get in touch with you, James?
Just Marshland Monster on Twitter. No, not Twitter, on Instagram. Marshland Monster on TikTok. MSS Pod on, what's that, Twitter.
Do you do that on Fiverr as well, or do you not do that on Fiverr?
No, because no one was like using Fiverr, and I was like, well, there's no reason that I should stay doing this, so flip this.
Yeah, we're still doing Time Bandits. We're still being nice kids.
Yeah. Shoot, I don't know if there's been some edits where might not have been bleeping things out.
Well, I know with Anthony, we were clean 100%, like in the record, so you had nothing to worry about there.
Because I will say that I was dreading editing that episode because during the recording, we were bleeding through his microphone from his like phone's speaker so much.
That's right.
And luckily the recording suppressed maybe half of it, but I still had to go in. It wasn't as bad as like when Hit It and Crit It would record. Some like Robbie and Joe would be so quiet sometimes that I would have to go in and edit out all of the microphone bleed, because if I tried to gate out it, there were times when like Corey would be louder than them in their own microphones. So it would just screw up the audio quality of them. And it's like, well, this is good. This took an extra hour longer.
Yeah, well, you made a great podcast, and we made a great friend. Anthony has invited us to be on his web series, The Chase, season 4, James. He said he might have a couple roles for some American podcasters to show up. So I'm interested. I'm definitely interested. If you are, you can join board too.
Is there video involved?
Yes.
All right. Now I got to pass. I don't like doing video.
This is all Stevie then. Heck yeah. Me and Anthony, no James. We can talk about you. We can talk trash about you while you're not around. That's great.
Okay. And I got to say one real quick thing. You sent me all those acoustic panels.
Yes, the blue ones.
Yeah, how would you it's such a huge box. I just can't put them up. However, Torchy Berry, who you are very fond of, just bought a house, and she was very jealous of those. And I was like, "Hey, do you want all of these?" And she's like, "Are you sure you don't want to just give me some?" I was like, "Dude, no, I'll never." It's so hard to put them up, especially because you like need to mount them into the wall. I don't want to deal with that. We rent, whatever. And Torchy's like, yes, I'll take them. So, great. Yeah.
So when I'm listening to her podcast, then I can like listen to the sound and be like, I know exactly what is muffling her voice right now. What's giving her that great acoustic sound.
Yeah.
Straight from Acoustic First here in Richmond, Virginia. Handmade quality. I'm just plugging everybody today, James. That's how we're going. But yeah, let's get into our episode here. We watched Ice Age, Time Bandits episode 7. This is a completely Judy-less episode. We didn't even have somebody standing in as Judy this time around. So the last episode, I failed to mention one thing is what I want to say before we go into this one, is we had another tie-in to the movie. Another, I guess you would call it a nod to the original Time Bandits movie. We had Mansa Musa, the king, befriending Kevin, admires Kevin, and invites Kevin to stay with him. Just like in the movie, King Agamemnes did the exact same thing and went so far as to adopt Kevin. But the Time Bandits, of course, in the movie kidnapped Kevin away. In this movie, Kevin left of his own accord last episode with the Time Bandits, and they ended up here in the Ice Age. So that's where we're going to start, in the Ice Age. They're coming through this portal in the mountainside, and it seems like everybody's there. Penelope's like, shoo, we all made it. Alto comes through last minute, and it's like Penelope almost forgets that Alto exists for a minute. I kind of like that one.
Also, we've talked about Apple TV and their lack of promotion, but I think I get them. I was watching this, I'm like, oh, they do promote their shows before other shows of theirs.
What do you mean by that? I don't get it.
Because there's a short, when you push play, there'll be a short commercial that you can skip, but it's like for shrinking, for Mythic Quest. Okay. So you want to know what they do promote their shows. To people who already are subscribers.
I mean, they could, I don't know. There's so many ways they could do it. There's so many different avenues you could take to do underground advertising. Like Wheel of Time, for example. It's a great example where all those actors take to social media like a month beforehand and plug the heck out of the show. And some of the folks in Time Bandits were doing that, but it was just, I only saw it in Instagram. I didn't see it widespread, and I didn't see it from Apple TV. So I think Apple TV itself, their social media, they need us to, or somebody like us that posts regularly and pushes their shows on all platforms.
Say, hey, come and get this Time Bandits.
Exactly. These Time Bandits got to live somewhere. So, yeah, the intro sequence of this episode, which is, Ice Age, of course, we had the tunicorn is what we call a rhinoceros now. We had an antler and we had an axe. This is representing things from the Ice Age. We're hanging out with Neanderthals this episode. We haven't got to them yet. Let me not get ahead of myself. So first off, Kevin reminds us and the group really why he loves his parents, because we're getting a lot of flack for his parents, and we've given his parents a lot of flack as well. But Kevin explains why he loves them, why he cares about them. And an ice cat approaches. It's not going to attack the group. It's going to attack this rhinoceros. But big-headed Biddleleg doesn't like that. So he tells the cat to attack them instead. Of course, the cat does. So the group acts as a big, huge unit to scare the cat away, and they're successful, but they also create an avalanche, which leads to a little bit of demise.
Mm-hmm. Real quick to go back to Kevin's parents. Words, we don't need to cut them any slack. They suck. Okay. He has such low standards. He has the standards. I don't know if I've ever said this on a podcast. Multiple times my parents called the police on my brother because he was just acting out as a teenager. And a police officer said to my mom and dad, legally, all you need to do is give them shelter, food, and a bed. That's it. Legally, that's all you need to do for these kids, all right? And that is kind of the mindset, his parents, or because, this has been drilled into his head, Kevin's parents are that police officer. They're like, well, yeah, you got some of your cool toys, but we also give you food and a shelter and a bed. That's nice, right?
They take him to Woodhenge for his birthday. He said on his birthday to treat him special. So, there's, I don't know, maybe Kevin is drinking the Kool-Aid. Maybe he's full on Haddock cult member.
If you were talking to a married couple, the wife in a married couple, and she's like, oh, yeah, he works all the time. He doesn't see me ever. He's always out of town on business, this and that. But on my birthday, he's there.
I see the point. Yeah, you got to do it every day, not just one day a week, one day a year. What am I saying?
Yeah, one day a week, so I would cut a little bit of slack. But my family, my dad and mom worked all the time, but my dad every single Saturday would be there. He'd be like, yeah, let's go to the pool. Let's go this place, that place. So you can't be. You can't be a parent and be like, one day a year you matter, and the other time we are going to bully you.
Yeah, the show did do a good job of creating some parents that aren't just cookie cutter parents. They do have some nuance to them. They're not completely evil, but they're not completely lovable either, just like you're saying.
It's because they're dumb. That's why we're like, hey, we're fine with this.
Well, apparently Kevin's dad is not fully dumb because he can install computer stuff, and he installed an app so Kevin could play chess. So his dad is not 100% dumb. But anyway, when I say that the group met their demise, it didn't meet their demise. They got knocked out by the avalanche. They come to out of the snow by some Neanderthals. They're awakened by some Neanderthals, as well as Saffron rides up on a mammoth, which mammoths have never been ridden by humans, but Saffron is not your average human here. She shows up riding that mammoth. The two gangs meet each other. Widget doesn't seem to get along with anybody. Good-spirited Widget is misunderstood big time by these Neanderthals and Saffron.
Oh, well, because he says, oh, that's your sister, the annoying one. And she's like pretty much saying, what the man? You've been telling everyone I'm annoying? And Kevin's like, I didn't say that. And he goes, oh, no. I mean, that annoying one is your sister. And man, it was good.
Well, that's one of the reasons why Saffron was kind of had an attitude about the bandits and towards Kevin, was because Kevin didn't tell his friends anything about Saffron. So Widget just misspoke there. That's not actually what, Kevin told them. And apparently Saffron told the Neanderthals all about Kevin. So that's one of the reasons that she's kind of bummed out.
Yeah.
Right around this time, Kevin faints, which is very convenient for script writing. If you need to change a scene, just make a character faint.
He goes, huh.
He wakes up, comes to while they're actually riding the mammoth with Saffron. They catch up briefly, brother and sister stuff. The thing that I like here is she begs Kevin to act normal, which I can relate with. My sister has definitely asked me to be normal before.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I like that we get the brother-sister vibe here. We also, at this time, we enter the village. We meet a bunch of the characters. We learn a little more about the tunicorn. This is when the tunicorn gets his name, and we realize it's been injured during that avalanche, and Biddleleg is trying to rescue it. his rescue pet, I suppose.
Also, its broken legs, it looked like they were just like, you know how if you're standing on all fours and you were to just like put your arms out, then lay on the ground like that. It looked like they just like went like crunch, cracked its legs, and then set it on the ground just to be on its tummy.
Yeah, it doesn't look comfortable. Bitleg is beside himself trying to get this thing back to health. I wrote down a bunch of the names of the Neanderthals as we enter the village here. We got Faza, Arla, Tooth, Meat Girl, that's my personal favorite, is Meat Girl, Biza, Sheena, Iggy, Loudest Voice, the guy who talks loud, Grunt, Howler, and Kaga. That's our gang here. Did any of these Neanderthals stick out to you, James? Besides, of course, Loudest Voice, because he talks loud. No? I mean, the chief, of course, because the chief has that intense stare that we meet him later.
Oh, I thought you were going to say, because these actors also played this person in this episode and this person in that episode.
That's what I should be doing. I tuned my research in. These are wonderful actors playing these Neanderthals. Wonderful, wonderful actors. I don't know their names to report on the podcast here.
Because they've been taught how to speak by... It's weird how their communicators aren't picking up what they're actually saying, because what they are saying is... it's being filtered through, and they learned to speak by a teenager from UK in 2024. So they're just talking in slang the entire time.
This might be like the episode that made me laugh more than any other episode so far. Maybe because of that, maybe because of Saffron herself. But yeah, it's just a wonderful mishmash of weird language she's taught them, because are real Neanderthals. That's what I spent time looking at before this episode was, I wanted to know what the real Neanderthals were doing at this time. Of course, they are no longer with us, so we don't have to worry about offending any Neanderthals listening, because they're all extinct at this point. Not very smart individuals. It's said that they didn't invent fire, but they were able to utilize fire when they found it, like natural forest fires or lightning strikes, but they were not really fire savvy. They had tools, mostly just rocks and sticks, but they didn't really have any shelters. And when we see Saffron invents a chair to give to the chief to sit in, that's kind of a big deal, because the Neanderthals also did not have furniture. They would just sit on stumps and rocks. So having a chair with a back to it, that's like a Saffron gift that she's given to these Neanderthals. The concept of YOLO is given to the Neanderthals, and they really take to this concept of YOLO, which I think is another clever joke thrown in there by our writers of the show, because of course the Neanderthals did not survive. They lived once and then they died. So I'm pretty sure that's what they were trying to go with that point there.
I also love whenever they would talk to the Time Bandits, the Neanderthals, Saffron would translate it, but it's just exactly what they heard. And they're like, yeah, we get this. And then there were times when they're like, wait, what does that mean? And then she would just reiterate it. And she's like, but I don't know what that means.
Yeah, and Penelope was the one that had to get explained most, I suppose, because she's getting targeted by these Neanderthals, and especially by the chief. I like that Saffron calls them the Time Randos. She's very dismissive of the Time Bandits. She's been here 3 years. She's now Kevin's older sister.
Which we were wondering, wait, she looks like she's an older sister, but we're being told she's younger? That's wild. No way. And that because they knew going forward she is going to be older, so we have to cast someone who's older.
It's really clever, and I wonder if maybe Anthony LaDon was hip to that, because he referred to Saffron as the older sister a few times. And this episode had actually aired by the time we had recorded that with Anthony LaDon, so he could have seen this episode. I was wondering that when I watched it. I was like, did he watch ahead this far, or did he just honestly think that she was the older sister?
I did.
Yeah. The only reason I didn't was because, just from doing show notes and seeing their ages and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, when you said she's younger, I'm like, that doesn't make sense. But now it does. It's like in Pretty Little Liars all of the main cast members were like 18 into their early 20s, maybe mid 20s. But the person that they cast as Allison, they cast her as like a 14 or 15-year-old because they knew she's only showing up in flashbacks. So if she's aging, like if she's older, like you'd never believe like, oh, this is a 15-year-old. Whereas the other ones, are supposed to be playing like 17.
Okay, yeah, that makes total sense. It hurts for somebody that like looks extremely like young and then stays looking young into their 20s. That does happen. And it works well if you're on a TV show and you're playing a teen and you're not supposed to age. But if you are supposed to age and then everybody else is aging around you, but you still look like a little kid, it can happen. You know,
that's why you get one tattoo and then you're like, hey, I'm 18 minimum.
Yes. Yeah, so we catch up with Saffron, 3 years. She shows Kevin where she spent her birthdays, and Kevin feels a little bad that she didn't have any birthdays, but she seems like she's having a great time. She's doing extraordinarily well, better than she's ever done in her life. And it's for this reason that Kevin is reluctant to give her the news of their parents. And this reminds me of a book that I'm reading right now. It's called Subculture Vulture. And one of the theories in this book is like, if you're getting ready to say something to someone that's going to affect their mood, like if you're getting ready to tell somebody that their parents are dead, for example, and you have to break this news to them, this book says you should ask yourself 3 questions first. Does this have to be said? First off, in this case, it does. Does this have to be said right now? In this case, it does not. And then the last point is, does this have to be said right now by me? Am I the best messenger for this? So I thought that really played in well here. I just read this book. I just watched this episode. So I had a little moment of synchronicity there.
But she could have got onto, Facebook and found out from a stranger that her parents got turned into coal.
There's no phone out here. Nobody's got no phone. So we ain't got to worry about that. Saffron has, like I said before, she has mentioned Kevin to the group. So everybody's familiar with who Kevin is. And she's hurt that Kevin hasn't mentioned her to his group. Like I said before, she's responsible for showing these Neanderthals how to use fire. She showed them how to make a chair. And the concept of YOLO is what she's brought to this group. Which leads me to my first question for James, my first open-ended discussion question. If you could take 1, maybe 2 things to the Neanderthals, what would you take them to help them out? Let's see. I think maybe I'll go first and give you a chance to think about that. I would definitely like to give them music because I know they didn't have anything like that. And they didn't have any sort of outlets. So I think music would be a nice outlet for them. So I would show them how to beat on stuff and how to like make rhythm and show them a musical time. That's one thing I would give them. Have you thought of anything yet?
I'm just trying to figure out a way, like, how can I show them how to build better shelter with the resources they have?
Oh, absolutely. You could just take a bunch of pelts and stitch them together and like make a roof.
Oh, yeah.
And then signify to them, make it bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah, shelter would be.
I guess I would be like, hey, if you can cut off the wind, it's going to cut the degrees significantly. It's crazy how people survived back then. But the other thing, I guess fire, like if I can show them, you're saying that they didn't know, but also, like build fires within your encampment. So like within your little bit of shelter, so then it's not super cold.
Yeah, you notice that like even our Time Bandits were hanging out in their shelter. There was no fire in their shelter. They could have done themselves a huge favor by giving themselves some fire in there. So yeah, these, like I said, these, yeah.
Or shown them south. So then at least, you're in a warmer area. I did write down that I would love to spend a year during the Ice Age, but still with like a little cottage just to be like, what was this really that cold? What's the deal here?
Actually, that's something that another thing I looked up. I was like, was the Ice Age actually full of ice?
Okay.
Certain iterations it was, but the latest iteration of the Ice Age, which was about 60,000 years ago, it was basically like not a Chicago winter, maybe more like a Virginia winter, where the coldest temperatures would be like in the 30s and 40s, and the best temperatures would be like in the 50s or 60s. So it wasn't like they were walking around in the tundra. There were like pleasant times. There were seasons. just like there are now. It's just that the wintertime season just got much colder than it currently does.
So if you're like up in Canada, it's real bad.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, I guess. I mean, I don't know what the Earth's axis was at that time. Probably the same. I suppose it was somewhat the same.
I don't think stuff's really knocking it off its axis too far.
I just know that these Neanderthals were not smart individuals. I was taken aback by how like little they did. They were like basically a little bit smarter than our smartest chimpanzees. Basically, they had a little bit more knowledge of tools and how to use them.
Okay.
I wish they were here still with us so we could maybe we could offend one and we could start like a cancel culture war and they'd be mad at us for the things we're misrepresenting them now, but they can't even hear us.
I thought you were going to say, I wish they were here so we could ask them questions that have gone unanswered. But you're like, no, man, those dudes, those idiots.
Well, you've been saying the F word a lot. Well, screw Fiona, actually.
Shoot.
Because Saffron has met Fiona. I like the way her description. She's like the one with the hectic hair. It's a good description of her hairstyle is hectic.
Mm-hmm.
And she said that Fiona gave her the ick. But yeah, she didn't really have any terrible experiences with Fiona. But Saffron is aware of Fiona and knows who she is. Sweet Shot of Time is brought to you by Zencastr. Zencastr is the way we record Sweet Shot of Time. We hook up with our guests via video and we record it on audio. Recently, we've been doing video podcasts with the cast of Time Bandits. It's easy using Zencastr. You can record video or audio. You can also edit your podcast or your video via Zencastr. Join Zencastr using my promo code Sweet Child of Time and you can get 30% off Zencastr. If you're ready to start your podcast, it's time to share your story. Share it with Zencastr. That promo code once again, Sweet Child of Time at Zencastr.com. I'm going to go into Biddleleg's journey a little bit here because he's into saving this tunicorn, as we said. He's trying to set his leg. And while he's doing this, some of the other Neanderthals are kind of around, wanting to eat the rhinoceros. And Biddleleg is like, no, we're going to save him. The Neanderthal calls him a wanker, James, which is definitely like a bad word that is a very bad connotation. Do you know the definition of a wanker?
Well, I'm assuming it's, calling, like a jack off.
Yeah, exactly. One who wanks. So
it's not that bad. And I guess it's been like desensitized because in British comedy, I hear it so often that it's like, you wanker. And just like, if I were to call you you're being a jack off right now, or I guess more like jag off, but jag off's just a jack off, right?
Yeah, it's like a nicer way to say jack off. That's right.
Okay.
I had to rewind it the first time I watched this because I was like, did he really call him a wanker? He did. Okay, we're going with that. Besides him being a wanker, he only gets a squirrel pelt to stay warm, which is, of course, ridiculous. Even a Neanderthal could figure out that this is not sufficient for Biddleleg, but that's all they give him at this point. What did you say?
It's so funny.
It is.
I also liked when he was bringing it back. Penelope's like, you could have brought this back by yourself. And he's like, no, I couldn't. I had frozen tears in my eyes.
That's right. He gets sweeter and sweeter as this series evolves. Alto likes the Neanderthals because of their diet. He admires the way they eat, their paleo diet. And he likes the fact that he can teach them about acting. He has like a group of students he can teach now. Mm-hmm. So, Alto kind of digs this.
He's doing too well to these dummies.
Maybe.
Because he dies in the role, and then they're like, he's dead. And then he comes back and they're like, oh my God.
They do a callback to that at the very end too. I love that joke. We don't really get a through scene with Widget. Widget's just like our supporting actor here, like helping out the other guys. But the chief is the next main character. He's the guy that I probably should have figured out what his name was and give him some credit for this role because he looks like a metal guy. He looks great in this role and he looks intimidating. He loves Saffron though. He says Saffron is a legend. I think he says something, he gives her like another like adverb in there too, like friggin' legend or something, total legend. He loves Saffron.
Yeah, because they're like, hey, you need to come with us. And they're like, you can't take a legend, okay?
That's right. Saffron has made this sick chair with YOLO on it. I mean, this chair is wonderful. And what makes it even better is it actually says YOLO on the chair. The chief is threatened by Penelope and challenges her. in this strange kind of way. The group gets up to leave, but we learn that it's not over. The chief says, this is not over. There's more to come. Widget lets Penelope know it's not necessarily her fault about the chief because it's just a weird energy she gives off and she can't help it.
Which is odd because no one up until this point has thought of her as the leader. And now they're like, oh, you're the leader, aren't you? And she's like, no. If that's a bad thing, no. If it's a good thing, yeah, why not?
Exactly. I like the way she changes her mind on that. And I like this whole thing about Widget telling her about the weird energy. I have a friend that used to come to our apartment when we had a bunch of animals, and he had the weirdest energy, and the animals would act so bizarre around him. And he was the only person they did this with. And we had to tell him, like, it's your energy. It's something that you're doing. You can just come sit on the couch and the animals are going to act crazy. And when you leave, they'll be normal again. It's just something about certain people, I guess.
You should have recorded it. Him walk in, they act weird. He leaves, they're fine.
These are pre-cell phone days this happened. This was way back in the 90s. I did have a camcorder. You're right.
Yeah, you were making skate videos.
I do. I should be pulling that stuff out and checking it out. It'd be some great content for the internet, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
Saffron calls the Time Bandits. She called them the Time Randos. And here she calls them his dodgy mates. And she describes them as convicted kidnappers disguised as circus performers.
Very good.
I love that one. But she does admire their persistence. She's telling Kevin that, your gang is, a bunch of dodgy mates, but look at them. They're never going to give up. Like, they have a lot of spirit and a lot of persistence. And basically, as she's saying this, we watch the group one by one just give up, which seems like it's a running theme of the show almost, of like just giving up and you've had enough and I just got to stop now.
I don't really think they gave up. I just saw them as like, that is their character trait. All of them, bottom line, they don't give up whatever dumb thing they're doing. The acting stuff. He still wants to tend for this rhinoceros, but he can't because he truly, he doesn't want to bring more pain to this thing. And then Widget, he can't give up not being how he is. But Penelope says, I give up, but only to trying to figure out what that dude was saying.
I guess so. I guess it's just not a theme with I should clarify. It's not really a Time Bandit character theme. It's like a theme of the show that comes up. Like in the earlier episodes, that was Kevin's parents' philosophy of life is just give up. Just, don't worry about anything and give up. I just thought it was funny that she was telling Kevin that his friends never give up at the exact moment that Alto gives up trying to teach. Bidleg is like, I can't do this anymore. And Widget, the same thing. He's like, this is too cold. I just give up. So it was good timing. It was good timing on my end here.
I guess I might have missed that context because I was writing down. Having friends who just don't give up can be good, it can be bad, but in this case, it makes them absurd individuals because so far they haven't given up. Alto still wants to act even though he's never been on the stage. Widget is like, hey, I'm gonna figure out this map, even though up until just until now, he sort of knew what was going on. And in the next episode, because I thought the next episode was the one we're watching now, so I read the description to be like, is this the one? He almost gets it right.
Yeah.
I'm
very
excited
close.
for that one.
I know, I am too. We might have a guest for that one. We'll talk about that in a minute. Yeah, so Act 3 of the show, which is pretty much where we're at now in our talking points. Act 3 is a challenge that the chief gives to Penelope in order for Saffron to freely leave the group. The chief is kind of holding Saffron as a bargaining chip here. So Penelope has to do a challenge of walking to the rock and back alone. So there's this scary rock at the far end of the tundra. She has to walk there alone with no weapons, touch the rock, and come right back. So she does this. She faces the eyes of death. We think it might be Fiona in there, but it's not.
It's just a cute little guy.
Yeah. She does her duty. She walks back to the group. happy that she's done the challenge. It's, kind of anticlimactic, but it is what it is. Mm-hmm. But we actually see Fiona there. Fiona is there with them because when she walks past a rock, we see those evil eyes. We know she's there. So by this point, Bitterleg's Tunicorn is not doing well. The guys are freezing. They think that they're dying. Widget suggests that they use the Tunicorn for warmth. They can use its pelt. I guess he's thinking they're going to kill the thing. Bitterleg can't do this. Bitterleg ends up cuddling with the Tunicorn, and that's how he survives the night, through cuddles. That's nice.
Mm-hmm. I really liked Widget, someone saying, hey, you got to start bundling up. It gets cold at night. And he says, night is cold all the time.
Yep. So morning comes. Saffron joins the group here. This is a welcome addition to the vibe because now we have some interesting dynamics with Kevin and Saffron. The chief, as they're leaving, wants Penelope to be his woman. He likes what he sees. And she reminds us, though, that she has a fiance. Like, she talks about him every episode. And she is unavailable. So if anybody has their eyes on Penelope in that kind of way, she's unavailable right now, guys. Even to a big, strong, long-haired dude like the chief, she turns him down, too.
So sad. We sort of skipped over when Kevin confronts and actually tells his sister hey, these are mom and dad.
Yes.
And specifically says a demon turned them into clumps of coal. Imagine earnestly having to tell someone that these two are your parents. They're coal now. I don't know if that means they're dead or not, but I
think it makes the giving of this bad news a little funnier because you wouldn't add that detail. Mm-hmm. I mean, I wouldn't. I might say, I have them preserved here and we're going to try to go back in time and get them back.
Yeah.
But yeah. We get a new concept here, a new concept to the world. Instead of YOLO, YOLT. You only live twice. And this kind of blows the cavemen Neanderthals' minds. And this is when the guy points at Alto and is like, YOLT, you live twice.
Mm-hmm.
That was, I think, the best callback we've seen. Yeah, we see no other time frames here other than the Ice Age. Our Time Bandits come into the Ice Age, and now we're going to see them leave the Ice Age, but we don't actually see where they go. It's still a hidden. We didn't visit evil. We didn't visit the Supreme Being this episode. We stuck in the Ice Age the whole time, which I think that's the first time that's happened, right?
I think so, yeah. Zero, it's not even, we started here, let's travel back in time, right. Now we're there to show, hey, we have two. They didn't even travel this episode.
Nope. Took a little break from the portals. But yeah, that leads us to the end of the episode. They get to take Saffron with them. They go into a portal. Once again, Widget's pretty sure he knows where they're taking them. So hopefully this time he gets it right. We shall see. Did you watch any of the next episode, or you just saw the description?
I just saw the description. I was like, wait, I think this is it. Then I went back and then I saw... so it's on 7 and you see a little bit of 6 and it says that one was completely played. I was like, oh, okay, nope. All right. That's what one was it that one was what times period?
That was the one with Anthony. It was Mansa Musa.
That one. So I was like, oh yeah, no, we did that one. We did that one. And then landed on this.
That's right. Yeah. Episode 7 here. We're going to be coming back with episode 8. Tomorrow, next episode, I don't remember the name of the episode top of my head, but I know it takes place, because you can tell by the thumbnail, it takes place in the 1990s. Uh-huh. So Widget's getting pretty close here.
And again, it's 1990.
Of course, I always forget. And something I wanted to bring up too. With our next couple of episodes, I'm not sure which episode, but past guest Sarah Darkin is interested in coming back on, talking about the cancellation of Time Bandits and recapping one of the last episodes with us. I believe she's going to join us either for episode 9 or episode 10. So get ready for that, everybody. It's going to be a great one. Maybe she'll talk some trash.
Oh, no. Well, it might get picked up by another. We can't, I guess, as long as the trash is just directed towards Apple.
Yeah, that's right. We can trash Apple all we want. They did the Beatles wrong and all that stuff, and they've taken over our cell phones. Now they're destroying the Time Bandits.
How did they do the Beatles wrong?
Because I don't know how they did them wrong. That was the Beatles record label, was Apple.
Oh, okay.
And we hate the man, so of course the record label was bad.
I was like, wait, I'm pretty sure that documentary came out on Disney Plus. And I thought people liked that.
Did it come out on Disney Plus? You're right, it did. It should have came out on Apple. I don't know why it did not. That's insane that it did not come out on Apple.
Well, just so you know, those are two different companies. One's Apple Records, I think, and one's I think it's Macintosh, not Apple. I'm kidding. I know it's Apple.
Well, it's Apple Core Records, I think, is what the whole title is. But yeah.
It's
so
just
Sarah Darkin will join us on one of these Time Bandits episodes. When Wheel of Time starts up, I think we're going to be having a long line of people to guest on that one, too. You were talking about your friend Sean wants to join us for some Wheel of Time. Mm-hmm. Corwin's a Wheel of Time guy.
Oh, yeah.
And Ted in my band is a Wheel of Time guy as well. And he suggested coming on to talk about Wheel of Time. I was thinking at first, maybe we can do like a Wheel of Time rewatch an episode with Ted. But season 3 is going to be coming out. Ted, you're going to be coming on for season 3. Why not?
I'm pumped for that. I really, really love that TV show.
Same here. And since I've gotten such good correspondence with the Time Bandits crew, I'm going to apply the same techniques to the Wheel of Time crew. I'm going to start reaching out to some of them and seeing if they want to come on the show as well. I don't know why I never have before. It's never occurred to me.
You got to try and get Naive on.
Oh my God, that would be that's the dream guest right there because she covers lots of bases. Another dream guest would be Viren, Mira Saul, who plays Viren in the show because I'm watching The Devil's Hour currently. She plays in that show too, and it's a great one. But yeah, we're wrapping up here. It's obvious. Want to give us some plugs of where people can catch you and your stuff, James?
Hey guys, just released an album that Steve Barnes was a part of on October 25th. The Dragon and the Monster remakes and remixes came out. It's a bunch of remixes of the aforementioned The Dragon and the Monster with Dragon Boy Suede and myself. Steve is on there for 3 songs? 2 songs,
yes.
2 songs. I got some. My friend Steph has some. Comatose Horrorcore legend himself is on there. And Crazy 8 the Snapcase has some remixes on it as well.
I love remixes, and I love remixes by me. So, of course, it's going to be a great album. Yeah, for me, same. Just please check out that music from James, the Marshland Monster, Dragon Boy Suede, and Introvoid. I'll be releasing it on my stream as well.
And if you're in Chicago ever, you're visiting, go to Chicago Comics from Belmont and Clark. I'm there every Saturday and Sunday pretty much. Come say hi. I'll find some comics that you like. If you don't think you like comics, I'll find something you will enjoy because there is a comic book. There are comic books for everyone out there, baby.
I hope they make a graphic novel of 1899 because that's the last I heard is that they can't do a TV show. I heard they're going to do a graphic novel, and they would carry that at Chicago Comics.
Absolutely, we would carry that. And patreon.com/MLM pod, where for $5 a month, you get exclusive content every single Friday. That's patreon.com/MLM pod.
POD, and we are OUT. Until next week. We'll be doing some more Time Bandits every 2 weeks. You know it's a bi-weekly podcast. You know this by now. So until then, I hope everybody in the audience and our boy James here finds water and shade and shoes. Bye.
See ya. Bye-bye.